Yep, I've got it.
Hi, welcome everyone. I'm Dr. Kent Kerley from the Department of Criminology and Criminal Justice. We had a bit of a technical challenge there at the beginning, and in those cases, we always say that it is the fault of Teams and of Microsoft, perhaps Bill Gates himself. We would never take any responsibility ourselves for such challenges.
It's all his fault.
But I appreciate very much everyone joining us today and for switching over from one Teams page to another. We are recording this, so in case you were not able to stay the full time, you can come back later to watch this. This is the culminating event of our Criminal Justice Week, and we're really pleased to welcome today FBI Special Agent Villela, and we're very pleased that he can join us today. He is a good colleague and friend of Professor Esteban Gomez from our department, and we'll be asking him some of the same questions as before, but most importantly, we're going to have plenty of time. We want to make sure our students who are joining us can ask some questions. As you know, this is the career path that many students express an interest in, at least initially, and many of them, in fact, follow through. And we've had great success as a department in people getting internships and then eventually working in federal law enforcement. Okay, so that being said, I just have a few questions, and then I'll go to the students. Students, when the time comes, if you will just raise your hand, and then we can recognize you on the screen in Teams, and we'll know the order in which you're ready to ask your questions, and that will be very helpful. You can also type a question in the chat area if you would rather do that than to speak on camera, and Professor Gomez will be monitoring that. Okay, everybody all set? Very good. All right, so Agent Villela, can you tell us a bit about your education and your career background in criminal justice and law enforcement?
Well, first of all, Steve, thank you very much for the opportunity to speak. Dr. Kerley and the rest of the faculty and staff, I appreciate this opportunity. I'm originally from Mexico, so I was a naturalized citizen. I always knew that I wanted to do two things when I was growing up: be a Marine and an FBI agent. And thank God I was able to fulfill both of my dreams. I have a degree in criminal justice from UTEP. I was in the service for a very short time. I got hurt, and that's another story. I was in for about a year and a half. After that, I finished my degree, and I've been in the FBI now going on 24 years, coming at the end of November. I don't remember what day it is anymore, but anyway, it's a long time. I've had the opportunity to work all sorts of different types of investigations. I've traveled throughout the country. I've been out of the country a couple of times. I had the great honor and privilege, and I don't say this lightly, having to work with Steve for about 5 or 6 years in the late 90s, early 2000s. He'll tell you different, but he was a great influence in my career, not only as a great friend. I still consider him a brother of mine, but also technically speaking, I learned a lot from him in doing what I do today. So that being said, I've worked the gamut. I've worked public corruption, drugs. I'm currently working national security matters. I've worked terrorism, got one of the very few terrorism arrests in El Paso. I'm currently working counterintelligence matters. Some very interesting things. I think that the cumulus of my experience from the beginning of my career till now has brought me to the fore to this point in my career to work the kinds of things that I'm working on right now. If you want a variety of things to work, this is the place to do it. If you want to do law enforcement, this is the place to do it. I know that there have been some challenges to our esteemed organization recently, but that notwithstanding, we are still the finest law enforcement and intelligence agency in the world. Could you hear me? I can't hear you, Dr. Turley.
Sorry about that. So, Agent, was federal law enforcement something that you were always interested in, or it became a goal later in life?
No, I always knew when I was little, what do you want to be when you grow up? I want to be an FBI agent, but I meant it. I had the option to go local here, as Steve did. Steve was a fantastic homicide detective in El Paso for a while. But then I thought to myself, I was very clear on what I wanted, and I forewent everything else and put all my proverbial eggs in the one basket. And thank God, here I am. I had opportunities to go work for the Marshals and DEA, and as a matter of fact, got job offers, and I declined those, knowing not having the offer for the FBI, but I knew where I wanted to go. So here I am.
One of the things that students often ask us about is the challenging nature of applying and then eventually working for the FBI. Can you describe for us that process of applying and then eventually making it through?
The process itself took me about 2.5 years. Um, it is a very competitive field, at least when I went through it. And I'm talking back in when I first submitted my application was back in 1993, 1994. Maybe a lot of you guys weren't even alive back then. But it took about 2.5 years. And again, it's very competitive. So I learned when I got to the academy that there was for my academy cycle there was about 110,000 applicants that went through that year, and there was only maybe about 4 or 5,000 that were hired from that bunch.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. What kind of advice would you give to our students to be successful with such a challenging occupation and
Look, Steve will tell you I'm not the smartest guy in the group. I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed. I'm not the best, but one thing that I think that I was able to hone from the very beginning is tenacity and not allowing people to tell me no. There was a lot of situations wherein people said, you know what, it took 2.5 years, like I said, you know what, just be done with it, forget it. They're not going to call you. Um, but what I can tell you, and I know I irked the recruiter because I would call just about every week. Hey, any updates? What's going on? And this is way before. Obviously, this is before, you know, um, online stuff. So it was like your application was on paper, and everything was either by the phone or you knock on the door. It's not easy now. Like it's not easy now, like just sending out an email. I actually called people. I knocked on people's doors because this is where I wanted to be, and I think I was tenacious, and I finally got it. Um, Obviously, I prepared myself for it. There's a lot of things that have to go into it, and they're not just going to, the bureau or any other, organization such as this one. They're not going to take you just because you're pretty. Obviously, that wasn't the reason they got me. Um, I didn't get my job because of my good looks, but I prepared myself. Obviously, I had some really good grades coming out of college. I had some really good experience, obviously, from the military. Then I had some private sector experience about 5 years while I was going to school. And, I made it a point to make myself as marketable as possible. So when the time came, there was no question as to who they were going to select.
mm-hmm. Right. One of the things we've been talking a lot about recently in some of our classes and other special events is the issue of diversity in law enforcement. So, since the time that you began with the FBI till now, what changes have you seen in terms of the diversity of officers, both in terms of race and ethnicity, gender, and anything else you might like to share?
Well, I will tell you that's kind of a sensitive area for me, and probably not for the reasons that you think. Me being, full-blood Mexican, I'm the first generation in the United States from my family to even go to college. Um, and since you brought up the point, Doctor, I'll go ahead and tell you one of the things that people were telling me back when I was applying, and people were thinking that it was taking so long. Is like, hey, they're not going to take a Mexican. They got a bunch of white guys in the FBI. I did not let that deter me. Now I can tell you within the last, I don't know, 5 to 10 years, the FBI has made it a point to reach out to make our workforce more diverse. So you're seeing some concerted attempts by the FBI to reach out to, you know, African Americans, women, all sorts, all different walks of life, everybody. the whole point of the matter, and the reason it's a sensitive point for me is that I wanted to be hired not because I was Mexican, but because I brought something of value to the table, because of what I can do, because of what I know, because of the things that I could do within the organization. That being said, the organization is going to great lengths to attract, you know, a diverse workforce. I know that they make pushes at least 2 or 3 times a year to go out to the universities, and today we're going to push for women. Now we're going to push for minorities. It doesn't matter. If you got what we need, we'll take you. Especially because of the diverse matters that we work. Maybe there are some things that, I'll give you a great example, and Steve can vouch for this. When Steve and I were running the streets, literally, we were running the streets back in the early 2000s. Remember the very first time that he and I worked together. There's another side story. Steve will tell you if he wants to, and he's laughing because he knows exactly what I'm talking about. But we got to work a very complex drug investigation. Guess what? All Mexican. It turns out that, being of Hispanic heritage and knowing the culture was a big plus to being able to work that kind of that sort of investigation. That's just an example. Now, it takes all kinds. So all sorts of different experiences, life experiences, aptitudes. You bring that all to the table, and because of, especially now, the way that the threats have evolved, chances are there's somebody out there who knows how to deal with a certain case or threat or whatever the case may be. The whole point is that everybody, the FBI, there is always something that anybody and everybody can bring to the table to solve a case, to attack a problem, or to address a threat, which is what we call how we call it.
Mm-hmm. That's excellent. So speaking of that issue, with certain cases, were there certain types of crimes, certain types of cases that you enjoyed more than others? And you can share a little bit about preferences.
Yes, I worked for about 5 years, public corruption matters in El Paso. Mm-hmm. I really enjoyed that because I think that it's got a big impact to the community. But I will tell you what I've worked now for the last 5 years, the counterintelligence aspect of it. I think that, like I said, the cumulus of my experiences have brought me to this point to be able to effectively address what it is that we're working right now, which unfortunately I can't go into a lot of detail about. But for example, in the public corruption arena, we got to the point where Steve, one of the things that I learned from Steve was a whole human intelligence, and I'm sure that you guys have probably discussed, the different types of intelligence that we deal with. Human intelligence basically means informants, how to develop people to talk about things they wouldn't normally talk about against people they wouldn't normally talk against. So we were able to penetrate, different organizations to get to the point where we were, like, for example, we were able to arrest a local sheriff's deputy who was working, with drug traffickers. We arrested a soldier off of Fort Bliss who was selling ammunition to what he thought was a cartel member, so one of our guys. That was probably some of the funnest things that I've done in the FBI since, having worked with Steve. Now the things that we're working on right now are I can't even begin to tell you the complexity, first of all, but also the impact that if we are successful, God willing we will be, if we're successful, it's going to have a big impact, not only locally, but I dare say, international.
That's not mine. I don't know what that is. That's none of mine.
All right. I don't think that was a question for you, Agent. So, students, I want to go ahead and get you all involved here as quickly as possible. When do you ever have two special agents with the FBI that you can ask questions of? One still in the field and one not that far removed, teaching full time. If you will, go ahead and start clicking the raise your hand button, and I'll recognize you so you can ask questions. If you want to do the video, that's great. If you decide you want to do just the audio, that's okay as well. But go ahead and just click the hand up there so I can recognize you. Especially our SCJS and APS members. I know I can count on you all to ask questions.
It looks like Brittany has a question.
If not,
Out on Hill.
yeah, go ahead, Espinosa, go ahead.
Yeah, so I just had a quick question. So as a student that wants to know that he wants to go federal right out of college, what would be the best method of trying to get to that point as soon as possible? Because throughout college, I've worked for the police department, but on the correction side, just to help pay for school. And I was just trying to see what would be the best route that you would recommend for us, and nowadays that you've kind of seen the culture change of the FBI and who they hire and that way.
You're muted, Pepe.
Okay. How old are you, Uncle?
21.
You're a baby. I would say that as soon as you get out of college, I mean, they're not going to take your application until you're 23 anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But keep work. If you're still working in the law enforcement field, stay at it. And I would say as soon as you get out, apply. I applied when I was 24, and I was hired on at 26. So I would say jump on it, especially since you're working already within the law enforcement arena. If you were working at at some other place, because they part of the requirements are having 3 years, I think it is, of progressive work experience. Progressive means that you're working for a place where you have responsibilities, where you have to make decisions, things of that nature. But it seems like you're already. How long have you been in corrections?
About to be 4 years.
Oh yeah, you're good, man. As soon as you graduate, I would say you apply right away.
Okay. What about internships? Would that be a good route as well, or how difficult is it to obtain one?
There is an honors interns program.
Okay.
They can place you throughout the country, and it obviously does give you a leg up. I know 2 people that are working in our office now that were interns and are now, one's an agent, the other one's an analyst.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi. So my question is kind of like his. This mostly like, what are the specific qualifications if you're looking to be an FBI agent? Are you guys looking for? I currently work the other side, like investigations. I work for a really big banking corporation. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
And I more so worked towards the lines with FinCEN, which is the Government Financial Crimes Enforcement Network.
Yes.
So I really tech savvy, cyber, savvy as well. So what are you guys looking for, as far as
you are prime
qualifications?
You are prime. With that experience, I mean, especially nowadays with all the cyber stuff going on, there's a lot of criminal organizations, terrorists, counterintelligence threats that are using the banking system to circumvent, law enforcement scrutiny. So I would say that you've got a leg up. And like I said, how far are you from graduating?
I graduated in December. Yay!
Yay! Well, congratulations.
Yeah, so I've always liked the investigation part of this for this job, but I've also been leaning towards going to law school as well. But I really have the niche of like investigation, like anything, the qualification that leads me more towards FBI. But I already know what grasps their attention. Like, what do they need? Like, what are they looking for?
I will tell you right now, if you're going to decide to go federal law enforcement, don't even think about it. If you want a diverse experience, go FBI, because you're going to get to do a little bit of everything. One of the things that I would tell people before is like, if you go work for DEA, nothing against DEA, all you're going to work is dope. If you go, work for immigration, guess what? All you're going to work is, immigration matters. We do a little bit of all of that, and we do it, I dare say, better than them. That being said, if you're not interested in, carrying a pistol everywhere with you, we also have forensic accountants that all they do is like in your line of work, is we apply people that have the knowledge to carry out financial investigations to take it to prosecution. So I mean, there is so much to be able to do. It's not just going out and arresting people. If you don't like carrying a gun or being on surveillance, all night. We have analysts that do all sorts of different types of jobs as well.
Oh,
But I would say that you've got a leg up. I mean, you've got prime commodities that we would be looking for.
great. So would you guys suggest like going for the master's degree, or is the bachelor's degree okay?
The bachelor's is okay. Master's degree is just going to make you, again, more marketable.
Okay, cool. Okay, sounds great. Thank you so much. Thank you.
You're quite welcome. Good luck. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Excellent. All right. Thanks, Angel and Brittany. Who is next?
I got two little yellow hands up here.
I'm going to start calling on people just for fun. No, I'm just kidding. Cedric, you have a question, and then we'll go to Yasmin after that. Go ahead, Cedric.
I see you, Yaz.
Cedric, can you hear? You're on mute.
Hello, Cedric.
Cedric, go ahead.
Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Now we got you.
Okay, sorry about that. So I just had kind of a general question. So since joining the FBI, have you always been local to El Paso?
No. My first office was in Laredo, Texas.
Oh.
But if you desire to, if you want to, you can move all over. I know people that Steve will tell you this too. There's people who move 5, 6, 7 times during their career. It just depends.
Got you. Awesome. Well, thank you.
Yeah, we're welcome. I will tell you though that there is a line that you signed basically saying it's a mobility agreement. So if the Bureau needs you in Timbuktu, guess what? You're going to Timbuktu.
Got you. Interesting. All right. Well, thank you. That's all I had for now.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Cedric. Go ahead, Yasmin.
I can't hear you.
Yasmin, you're muted.
You're muted.
You're muted. Unmute your mic. Yeah, it's still showing muted.
Oh, that sucks, Yaz. I hear clicking.
Maybe she can put her question in the chat if we can't hear her.
All right. While Yasmin is doing that, we have a question from one of our students that was shared with one of our advisors, Miss Hill. Let's see, this student is not a U.S. citizen and wants to know if he can work for FBI or other special services units without being a citizen as he works on obtaining citizenship.
No, you have to be a citizen to work for the federal government.
Mm-hmm. So.
Yeah, I got my citizenship when I was in the service.
Uh-huh. Excellent. All right. Well, Yasmin, I would come back to you, but it still says you are on mute. So if you look up at the top where there's a red button that says leave, 2 buttons to the left should be a microphone button.
She knows how to unmute. It's just a technological issue.
Okay. Yasmin, will you type your question in the chat, and I'll get right to it. How about that? Okay. So we had another question while we're waiting on additional hands. So Agent in many cases, students might major in criminal justice, but they will ask us if it would be useful to have a minor in some other area, like language or computer science or forensic science or something like that. Are there ones in particular that you think would be really helpful for our students?
Well, I should say that you do not have to have a criminal justice degree.
Mhm.
We have, like Steve, your bachelor's is in microbiology, right?
Yeah, my master's in microbiology and master's in bioscience.
Right.
Way too smart for me, but anyway, um, we have attorneys, we have accountants, we have all sorts of different backgrounds. Like I said, if for example, if we're going to be doing a money laundering investigation, who better than an accountant to work something like that? So it really is, if as diverse a background you can get is probably a good thing. So you don't have to necessarily have to have a criminal justice or criminology degree. You don't have to be a former cop. You don't have to be a military personnel. Anybody and everybody who wants to come in, if you have the qualifications, if you're marketable, if you have the skills that are needed. One of my biggest, I think, marketing ploys, I guess, because I pulled the wool over their eyes, was Spanish. I'm a native speaker, and of course, that's something that I've been able to bring to the fore in numerous investigations. So it doesn't really matter what your degree is in.
Okay, excellent. Let's see. So I have Yasmin's question. She asked, what battles, if any, do you see happening for those of us that are a little older? She says, I'm starting graduate school, but once done, I'll be 33, knowing the cutoff is 37. What advice would you have?
Apply. There's but that doesn't, if you want to be an agent, you have till 37. But that doesn't mean that you can't apply for other positions after 37. They won't allow you to apply for the agent position after that age. But like I said, there are analysts, there are staff operations specialists, there are computer scientists, there are a whole myriad of opportunities with the FBI. But yes, I remember when I went through the academy, the median age of the person at the academy was like 35, I think. So you have a lot of time.
Excellent. Thank you.
Was
All
that
right.
it?
Let's see. This question, got a couple more here if you don't mind. So Sabrina asked, what are the average pay rates when one starts in the FBI?
You had to ask that one. And not because it's probably going to be around 65,000, 70.
Well, yeah, I can add into that also, because it's, when you're in the academy, you're paid at a certain rate. It's a GS-10. You can look up on internet, look at the GS-10 pay scale. And GS pay scale, it'll show you you're a 10 when you're in the academy. As soon as you graduate, you're an 11. And then a year later, you're a 12. So you can just see how that works out with that one.
But then also, I should say that as an agent, you get what's called AUO, which is unavoidable overtime, which means that you will work 2 extra hours a day every day. So instead of going from 8 to 5, you have to work a 10-hour day. They're going to pay you automatically, but they expect for you to work that automatically. And if I've seen, like I've experienced for the last couple of weeks, if you pull an all-nighter and you will go 24 hours, guess what? You're not getting paid extra for it. That's just, you're going to get paid straight, whatever it is. They do have, different things like night differential, which means if you work at night, they give you a little bit extra. But usually the way it works is that you're going to get a set pay, regardless of whether you work what does that turn out to be? The 100 hours a week or not. So.
Excellent. Thank you. James Gleason, you had your hand up. You still have a question?
Yes, sir. Yeah. So I just had a quick question. Obviously, I guess the majority of us here are CRCJ majors, but what kind of things would you recommend people avoid doing if they're preparing for a career in law enforcement? Particularly, obviously, don't commit crime. It would be a great one, but things that would just not benefit you or be kind of a waste of time.
Don't smoke weed. Don't do
Okay.
drugs.
Okay, that seems pretty clear cut and dry.
Yeah. And, you know, any offenses of moral turpitude, you know, don't get busted, you know, picking up a prostitute, you know, things of that nature, obviously.
Okay. Yeah, as long as you don't get busted, right?
Well,
So.
it always comes out. Trust me.
Yeah.
It always comes out.
Okay. Okay.
We have ways of making you talk.
So, I guess I'll just ask one more follow-up and then I'll get out of your hair. As far as if you have a particular specialization in mind in the FBI, how much control over that does the applicant have? Say if they've already been selected and hired, can they kind of gear their career towards, say, being a negotiator, and then the agency will take that into serious consideration, or do you just kind of have to go in with the understanding that they'll place you where they need you most?
No. There are many collateral duties, many collateral duties that you can apply for. We have negotiators, apply for it, and you know, if you're what they need, they'll take you. There's like SWAT teams. They have behavioral analysis, all sorts of different duties on the side, like evidence response, which is like the CSI, evidence response team. If you're like the forensic stuff, you can do any of those. And there's no, what am I trying to say? You can apply for any of that. You know, as long as you have a good work record. If you're a slouch at work, well, they're probably not going to let you. But if you're doing your job and you're doing the things you need to do, they'll probably let you apply for those.
Okay, cool, awesome. Well, that's all I have for you for now. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. All right, guys. I also just let you know I got maybe about 5 minutes.
Okay.
Split.
Alma has a question. She asked, are there any certain disqualifications for the FBI? Much like with the military, they might have certain physical requirements or certain health statuses that might disqualify someone from applying and serving. Is that the case with the FBI?
Sure. Obviously, you got to be healthy. There's going to be a physical fitness requirements that you have to fulfill. Obviously, the older you get, you're not going to be expected to, I'm not going to be running with the 30-year-olds, but you still have to maintain a certain level of physical fitness. Again, it's just, keep yourself to where you're able to do the job. If there's anything that comes up in your life that precludes you from doing it, then, don't do drugs. It's probably one of the bigger ones.
Excellent. Let's see. David asks about the internship selection process. Apparently, he has already applied for an internship, and wondering if you have any advice on how long to wait before you might contact them again to ask about status.
Be insistent. That's the recruiter's job. I can't tell you about the process itself because I never went through it, and I only know about it, on the side. But there's nothing wrong with, I think that people like to see when you're gregarious and you're asking for it. I would think that if you knock on the door enough times, that they'll open it if you're qualified.
Excellent. Thank you. Madison, do you still have a question? For some reason, I can't see all of the hands on my screen.
I'm surprised I haven't gotten the one question that
I do.
Go ahead, Madison.
I just wanted to know, how do you apply for the internships? And how? Oh, that's my first question.
Yeah, no, go to your local FBI office and ask about it.
Okay.
And also, I think you can also look on FBIjobs.gov and just click in the internship.
Okay. And how soon before graduation do you need to do that?
Do it now.
Okay.
I think that they take juniors or higher. And I think they do look at your grades. But if you're a junior, go ahead and apply.
I graduate in 2021 in May, so I think I should go ahead and apply.
Do it.
Thank you. That's all the questions I have.
Yep.
Thank you.
Good. Thanks, Madison. Okay, I think you have time for one last question. Is that okay? From Randon, are you still there?
Yes, sir. I'm still here.
Go ahead, please.
You said that you were in the Marine Corps. I was wondering, how much do you think that the Marines benefited you joining the FBI? And also, what was your MOS?
1811 artillery. And the Bureau loves Marines for reason. No knock on the other services, but I'm just saying.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously it's a diverse, going back to the whole diversity thing, diverse backgrounds. There's obviously things that the service provides the individual that makes you who you are. And again, there might be that one time where your particular specialty is required to do a job. I'm sorry, Steve. I keep calling you Steve. I say like Professor Gomez. His microbiology got him into, at the forefront with the weapons of mass destruction stuff. That's way too above my head for me. But I mean, again, that was his niche because the guy knew what he was doing. So it takes all kinds.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. Well, let's take one more because this is cool.
Time for one. We're
The
excited.
bad guys can wait.
Let's see. Sabrina. Sabrina Harris, you still there?
Yes, sorry about that. I was regarding careers in the FBI, I'm more interested in the forensics evidence side of it. Do you know of many of those careers available and what I would need to do to prepare for those?
Sure. I mean, there's, like I said before, there's a collateral duty where there are people who are assigned to a team where, let's say that there is a big crime scene and they get deployed to work the crime scene. There are also dedicated personnel that are assigned specifically to do that. And again, if that's something that you are interested in, then I would, the sciences and things of that nature that you should prepare for that. But again, one of the nice things about the federal government, and I think this is for any branch of service, if you have the proclivity for it, if you have the aptitude for it, they'll train you, they'll teach you. So if I was wanting to, like, for example, I can barely turn my stupid computer on, but if I really wanted to go and work cyber crimes, they'll send me to a school and learn how to do it, So again, getting in the door, like there was a question before, you don't get pigeonholed. If you want to grow, if you want to diversify, the Bureau will allow you to do that and they'll train you for it. But then they'll expect you to put that training in to work.
Okay. And I also just remembered, what question were you surprised that no one's asked yet?
Have you shot someone?
Okay, thanks for answering.
You're welcome.
I thought that might be what's the most embarrassing story you can tell us about Professor Gomez?
No. Don't go there, Pepe. No.
There are none. If he wishes to tell you the story about when we first met, that's up to him. But I wouldn't say that is embarrassing. That just, I think we both looked at each other, we clicked and said, yeah, this is going to work out.
Well, excellent. Agent Villela, thank you very much. I know you have next meeting to move on to. We've still got some questions. Professor Gomez, do you want to stick around for a couple of minutes? And
I definitely will. Pareja, que vaya bien, que Dios te bendiga. Cuídate.
Igualmente. Hey guys, thank you very much for your time, for allowing me to speak to you. And Professor Gomez has my number. If anybody has any questions outside of this, I'm more than happy to answer any questions. He's got my personal cell. Please, my pleasure. Just don't call me like at Saturday night at 11:30 and I get this unidentified number and who is this? Just let me know beforehand, okay?
Bueno, pareja, we'll let you go. Be safe, brother.
All right, guys. Good luck to all of you. Thank you very much for putting this on. Steve, have a good one. Saludos.
Saludos.
Thank you.
All right, I'll go ahead and stay on. I'm not going to be,